This year, it's all about the new. New decade, new faces, new expectations. And as the Cowboys are on their quest for 6, they got the same dream. Where would this team go? There's no limits to what they can accomplish. So with a fresh perspective and a new direction, the 2020 Dallas Cowboys are determined to find greatness. And it all starts this offseason, right here on the Blitz.
Welcome into a brand new edition of the Blitz, your off-season report here from the Star in Frisco. Bill joining me here, Lindsay, Draper, and Bill. We've got a jam-packed show here. It's kind of draft style as we move closer. We'll talk some Dez Bryant down the road for you as well. You excited?
Yes, we got free agency looming on the horizon.
How could I forget?
Franchise tag day coming up this coming week. It's a very big week ahead. Things are really getting interesting around here now.
Proposed ballots sent to all NFL players to make their votes on the new CBA. Voting will go through Wednesday, March 12th. Bill, do you have a gut feeling of if this will be accepted or not by the players?
Yeah, so we're just days away now from them approving or disapproving of it. I'm thinking that because of the core players in this league, I believe it helps them, and I think there's enough core players in this league, they'll push it through, and they will approve a CBA, which will benefit the Cowboys greatly, I think.
And Randy Gregory, former Cowboy, current, I don't even know really how to explain it, would benefit him as well. And he says, you know, at this point, I'd still like to get into it in 2020 and come back to football. But again, I'm just not sure. It all hinges on what these votes are going to be.
Well, and technically with Randy Gregory, he is a Cowboy, has another year left at a very reasonable salary. Now, the question on Randy Gregory, even if he is allowed to come back and play, and with the new rules in the CBA, looks like it probably will happen for Randy Gregory, is what does he have left? I mean,
sure.
he missed all of last season. He did get 6 sacks in 2018, but nothing in 2017. When you've missed that much time of football, I think you just look at him as, okay, if he comes back and he can play, then it's a bonus. But you go forward thinking
Sure.
that you need to fill that position otherwise.
And I think that's how they've been thinking so far. When it comes to Blake Jarwin, as we switch gears here, going to offense, Bill, looks like they're going to place a second-round tender on him. So regardless of the Jason Witten situation, we'll get into that later, they want him around.
Yes, and a second-round tender means that his salary would be around $3.3 million this year. I think they probably want to negotiate a long-term contract with him. That would be a reasonable amount of money. The question is, the team wants to do that. The question is, would Blake Jarwin want to do that? And he probably would play on that tender this season and then see what kind of season he has. Played 30% of the snaps last year and the year before, and I think the game plan is he would double that.
Now, you remember a couple years ago, they had to bump him to their active roster because Philly tried to grab him from the practice squad.
Right,
You know others see
He's
what
valued
he has.
around the league, yeah.
He is valued around the league. Now, also around the league, Bill, we got to get into the tea of Twitter. What's going on with some tweets here? You remember Ron Leary. He just wanted to say, you know, things are changing up in Denver. Looks like I might not be here. And I do still have my crib in Dallas for those who are watching my tweets.
Of course, Ron Leary, who was an undrafted guy back in the day because he had this chronic knee issue. People didn't think that he was going to be able to play more than 3 or 4 years in the league.
Look at him now.
And now we've changed decades, and he's still playing in the league. But, of course, he was a part of that best offensive line in football in 2016. What does he have left in the tank, though, at age 31 this season?
And what are the Cowboys thinking at guard? I know there's a lot of questions. Where are there not questions with the Cowboys? Well, I'll tell you one, for a former Cowboy, no question that Tony Romo got paid $17 million for that contract with CBS. And there's been just a lot of players voicing, well, what about us getting paid, this and that? And Tony is smiling, saying, guys, it is good on this side.
It is very good on this side. Wow, 17, and there are some reports there's some incentives in there. I don't know if, well, he'll make it to the Super Bowl this year because CBS has the Super Bowl this year, that it could be upwards of $18 million. Wow, these broadcaster salaries for former players, not for the rest of us, are going sky high.
You had to go there, didn't you? Phil and I didn't play, but we'll cheer on Tony Romo. Why not? Just getting started here on the Blitz, though. When we come back, yes, he's been working out across the street. Dez Bryant, though, is there really a chance? Rob Phillips of DallasCowboys.com will join us to discuss.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz is brought to you by AT&T. Just okay is not okay. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. For the ultimate Dallas Cowboys experience, tour the Star in Frisco where the Cowboys train and work. For more information, visit thestarinfrisco.com/tours. This segment is brought to you by AT&T. Just okay is not okay.
There you go.
It went better than I thought.
You weren't blocked?
No, I wasn't blocked.
This is a guy that's ready to not only try and play for the Dallas Cowboys, but play for anyone in the league. He just wants a shot to play football again.
I want to play. I think I want to explore that. I think it's the right fit in the role. I do feel like I still have something to give.
You know, I'm going to take some time and talk to the wife, talk to the family, and see where I'm at physically. You know, I love this organization. I love the Joneses. I love all these players, and I love being here.
It's a definite free agent frenzy around here at the Star in Frisco. Welcome back into the Blitz. Rob Phillips of DallasCowboys.com, senior writer, joining us. And Bill and I would love to know, Rob, how do you even put into words just all the balancing that they're trying to do here at the Star with so many names on this list? It's been a while since it's been this way.
I've been here since the early 2000s. Off and on, I have not seen an offseason like this with as many potential free agents they have, big name free agents, and a new coaching staff, and you're trying to figure out what they value, what they prioritize. It's fascinating. It's going to be fascinating.
You know, it seems like everybody wants to play this time of the year. As the money is about to be doled out, okay, Dez wants to play, Witten wants to play, Lee wants to play. How about we start with Jason Witten? He does want to play. Now, will he be playing here is the question.
That is the question. We haven't gotten a lot of clarity on this. As of this past week, we know that he wants to play. He wants to finish his career here. And we know Jerry Jones wants him to do that as well. Jerry provided probably the most clarity on it a week or two ago at the Combine when he said probably it comes down to Jason's comfort with the fit. Is he comfortable with what the fit would be at tight end in 2020? And if you read between the lines, look, the Cowboys love Blake Jarwin. They love what he's done in developing at tight end. What would Witten's role be? Fewer snaps potentially? I mean, when you think about Witten's career, he's been at 100% or thereabouts of the offensive snaps throughout his career. A little bit less than that last year, but he was still a starter. Would he be comfortable with that? We don't really know. And he's been resigned. He said, I'm resigned to the fact that it might not be here that he finishes his career.
Now, another name that's very well respected, well known around here, Sean Lee. To me, in the defense, you've got a lot more issues, I think, than the offense. But Rob, where does Sean Lee really fit on the list of priorities? This guy also said he's kind of weighing the options as well.
I think this one makes a lot of sense to bring back because when you look at it right now, they've got, I believe, 5 linebackers set for free agency, including Sean. Leighton Vander Esch coming off neck surgery in January. They feel like he's going to make a full recovery, but still some insurance there. We saw with Lee, when you managed his snaps this year, he played a full 16 games, was very productive. It's still a young roster, and I think he can help this team maybe in some situational work, maybe not necessarily as a starter. He wants to play. I think it makes a lot of sense based on what he did last year.
And when you look at Mike Nolan with his defense, a hybrid-type defense, you need as many linebackers as you can get your hands on. How about Dez Bryant? What do you make of this?
Oh, we saved the best for last, didn't we? Dez.
Have you been thinking about Dez in the shower?
I do my best thinking in the shower. That's what Jerry Jones said.
There we go.
That one's interesting because Dez obviously wants to get back in the NFL. I think he has said on social media, give me those Witten-type routes. I'd have to really see it to believe it in Dallas. I think I would never discount him getting back in the NFL, but when you look at potential fit here, it's kind of hard to see in terms of the receivers they want to bring back here, Cobb, Amari, and then at tight end, if Blake Jarwin is your guy, and maybe if Witten were to move on, you need a blocking type tight end in there. A guy that hasn't been Dez's role. It's kind of hard to see, but we love Dez.
Even though he's working out right here on the property grounds of the Star in Frisco.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Jerry says he's thinking about it, so.
Thinking about it. Rob Phillips, always good to have on the show. Catch him on DallasCowboys.com, on some podcasts as well. When we come back, our buddy David Hellman gives us the scoop from Indy. Who is up and whose stock went down for the Cowboys at pick 17 right after this.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T. Just okay is not okay. This segment is brought to you by Dallas Cowboys Youth Academies. Dallas Cowboys Youth Academy's registration is open for spring and summer football, dance, and hip-hop youth camps. Early bird pricing ends May 1st. Register your child today at dallascowboys.com/academy.
Welcome back to the Blitz, your Dallas Cowboys report. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star. Got the big green notebook out because I want to hear from those who were at the Combine. Lindsay Draper now joined by David Hellman. I'm taking some notes about these draft prospects.
Now, take some notes because the combined coverage between us is 8 years. I have one at the Combine. Dave has 7 years at the Combine.
I cleaned up from when I was in Indy, though, right?
You look great.
Thank you.
It's a fun, long week out there for David. You saw a lot, and I'm learning from my 1 year there that people go in with this idea and thing that they want to see their team do, and then they come out with something different.
Yeah, notions change drastically when you go to the Combine. That's not necessarily a good thing. You know, guys are running the 40-yard dash and the vertical leap and all these crazy on-field tests. Doesn't always jive with what you see on tape, and that's what personnel departments have to get to the bottom of is how much do you weigh what you saw in Indianapolis versus the 13, 26, 30 or more games of college tape that these guys have.
Tell me about your Combine winners. We know the Cowboys have talked about maybe going defense in that direction for the draft. They've got pick 17. Who really skyrocketed for you watching out there?
So there's two names that I want to throw out there for better and for worse. I don't know very many guys that had a better Combine than C.J. Henderson, the cornerback out of the University of Florida. You've probably heard his name. He's in that second tier of cornerbacks that was behind Jeff Okudah. In consideration for the Cowboys, maybe at pick 17. Problem is, maybe he did too well in Indy. He goes up there at 6'1", 204 and runs a 4.39 40-yard dash. That is lightning quick. Now I'm sitting here thinking, is this guy even going to be there at pick 17? On the flip side, you got a defensive tackle by the name of Derek Brown out of Auburn. People pegged him as a top 5, assuredly a top 10 pick heading into this draft cycle. He still could be, but he goes to Indy, and no disrespect to Derek, he was terrible. He had an 8-second 3-cone, which, you know, it shows the bendability and the fluidness of your position. Terrible time in the 40-yard dash, just bad numbers across the board. Is that going to affect his draft stock? So I'm sitting here thinking, a week ago, I'm thinking there's no way Derek Brown is available for the Cowboys at 17, and C.J. Henderson maybe is 17's too high of a pick. Now I'm starting to change my opinion on that. Maybe Derek Brown sees a slide, maybe C.J. Henderson sees himself move up. That's the fun of the Combine is, you know, a 40-yard dash can change your perception to the point that you're getting drafted a dozen spots higher than or lower than people thought you might.
Stephen Jones, the front office is reiterating, Mike McCarthy as well out there, they want to take the best player available. From what I've listened to you guys on the draft show, and what I hear you guys talking about is the best player available might be like CeeDee Lamb or a wide receiver. Is that really going to happen?
Bill Jones, you taking notes over there with your OU Sooners? No, like that is the fascinating thing about this draft. Okay, cornerback, defensive tackle, safety. I get it. These are the positions of need for the Cowboys. And there are going to be players there at those spots, but does it line up with the value?
Right.
Do you want to draft the 3rd or 4th best defensive back in the class? Or if you have a shot at the 1st or 2nd best wide receiver, doesn't seem like a need, right? But if I tell you can get CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma, big-time playmaker, plays in the slot, can move outside, touchdown waiting to happen. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but if you're trying to take the best player available, that might be the type of choice the Cowboys are faced with, is how true to your board are you willing to be?
Check David out every week on the Draft Show podcast, 11 a.m. Central on DallasCowboys.com. Thanks for joining us, Dave. We will see you next week, and right after this on The Blitz, we have a local prospect who may be able to help out in the trenches for the Cowboys on defense. Welcome back into the Blitz. We're going to take a moment here, let Bill go through his notes, and we're going to get your thoughts right after we hear from Kyle Yeomans, who has a profile on a draft prospect just down the road who could end up with the Cowboys.
Thanks, Bill and Lindsay. Ross Blacklock, despite being a 6'3" defensive tackle, will always look up to his father, Jimmy, a trailblazing athlete who was the first African-American to play basketball for the University of Texas and someone who taught Ross the values of commitment and perseverance from an early age, 2 values that were tested during his time at TCU and have him on the cusp of achieving a lifelong dream.
Football is just my first love. I've been playing football since I was 5. It's been just the sport that I've just gravitated to my whole life.
At the young age of 5, TCU's Ross Blacklock wrote himself a letter that he was going to become a professional football player. Despite coming from a family where basketball was king, and Ross's father, Jimmy, is a basketball legend, one of the first African-American stars at the collegiate level, and a 14-year veteran with the Harlem Globetrotters, who happened to honor him during the NFL Combine.
As some people know, he's the first African-American basketball player in the University of Texas. I just try to fill those shoes for him and for my family. Super proud of him. I wish I could be there. I wish he could see what I'm going through, but it's more important for him to do what he's doing.
Even with the basketball lineage, Jimmy never pushed Ross to play the sport. Instead, he knew the gridiron was home.
He just never really pushed me to be a basketball player. He told me if I wanted to do it, then I'll do it. But he never pushed me to be a basketball player. He knew football was where I wanted to be. I think basketball is just too soft for me.
Blacklock was always drawn to the physicality of the game, playing both defensive tackle and tight end at Fort Bend Elkins High School before choosing defense full-time and becoming a 4-star recruit. In his freshman campaign with the Frogs, Blacklock started all 14 games and was named the Big 12 Co-Defensive Freshman of the Year. He was on his way to becoming one of the most feared linemen in the country until a new hurdle arose.
2018, I tore my left Achilles. It was kind of rough at first, but I just had that mindset that you had to go through something to get back to where you want to be. You can't just mope around. You can't just be sad and be mad at the world.
His initial diagnosis slated recovery time to 9 months, but instead, with perseverance he learned from his father, Ross was back in just 7 with no setbacks.
Like I said, I haven't felt any pain since I've torn it. Even when the days after surgery, when you're on that medication, it didn't bother me. I slept good.
With his injuries now in the rearview mirror, Blacklock is focused on showing teams that he is ready for the next level.
Teams and fans are going to get a leader. I have that natural-born leader as a player. It's something that just grew upon me as an athlete. A guy that's going to be accountable at all times, holds people to a high standard like myself.
Reporting for the Blitz, I'm Kyle Yeomans.
Thank you, Kyle. Great story, and I think that's one of the best parts of the draft is you do it well with your Big Green Scouting Notebook. You get all these guys that you follow closely, and then 5 years down the road, you're still keeping up with them to see where and what they're doing with other teams.
And what an interesting prospect Ross Blacklock is. As Kyle mentioned in that piece, his dad not only played at the University of Texas, but for 14 years with the Harlem Globetrotters. He was one of the dribbler guys, like in the Curly Neal style, also coached with the Globetrotters. But really, when you look back at Ross Blacklock as a youth growing up, he was a top baseball player. He was even a competitive swimmer. He was in the Junior Olympics in track and field, as well as playing basketball and football. So you look at that kind of an athlete, and he looks like he would be the perfect 3 technique in a 4-3 defense. Now, we'll see what they wind up doing here with Mike Nolan as the defensive coordinator, but his ability to move as an interior defensive lineman, that is something that could make him a first-round pick, I think.
First rounder?
I would put him up
17? Pick 17?
I think let's hold off on that a little bit.
Let's hold off. All right.
Okay.
We'll get some of your draft thoughts in segment 5, right after this as we wrap up the Blitz.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz was brought to you by AT&T. Just okay is not okay. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. For the ultimate Dallas Cowboys experience, tour the Star in Frisco where the Cowboys train and work. For more information, visit thestarinfrisco.com/tours.
We are getting into that time less than 50 days away from the draft. We've got a couple of pro days up there for you to take a look at. They are always packed with talent. I don't see OU up there.
Yeah, what's up with this? What's up with this? There's no Oklahoma on there, and they've got potentially 3 first-round draft picks. The Cowboys could be choosing between 3 Sooners.
I guess we're just going full Texas today.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Texas A&M that you saw there March 24th, kicking off the Texas tour. It should be very interesting. interesting. I'll throw out a name, a Notre Dame big wide receiver, Chase Claypool. He would be a perfect fit in this offense.
Where picked?
Well, he's like, you're talking first round, 6'4", 238 pound, ran a 4.42 with a 40.5-inch vertical.
I'm impressed.
That is impressive.
Best player available. We talked about this. You think it's going to be defense this whole time, but now I'm starting to get the
At
sense.
238 pounds, he could be a receiving tight end type too.
Phil Jones, Lindsay Draper. Maybe we'll have contract news for you next week. We'll see you then on the Blitz.